Detroit Den 313, welcome back. Steve here, flying solo. Appreciate you joining in. Appreciate you watching. Before I get into it today, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a whole lot. We have a goal. We're trying to hit a certain number by Monday. We're trying to hit 4,000. Long way to go. To do that, we need your guys' help. Again, it's greatly appreciated. Truly mean that. But real quick, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some Cam Sutton stuff, some more news. When we did our show yesterday, it was kind of still very early. Obviously, it's still very early today in the process of what's going on with Cam Sutton, but just have a few more minor details, maybe minor. I don't know. It's up to you guys. But apparently this incident happened on March 7th. So that was like right before NFL free agency happened. You know, there's some rumors floating around. There's some questions. Did Brad Holmes know about this? According to some tweets that I've seen on Twitter from people who work for the Lions, people who are a little bit obviously more closer than me, were saying that they became aware of the situation yesterday, just like the rest of us. So, also, Cam Sutton has not been seen since this incident. I think obviously a lot of us, our heads go to what's the worst possible outcome here. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to think about that, regardless of what happened. We're talking about people's lives, literally speaking about people's lives. So we hope that the alleged victim is okay. We hope that Cam is okay. We hope this all gets resolved in the best and safest way possible. Now let's talk about this from a football standpoint. We got to kind of shift gears. Let's talk about this, how it affects the Detroit Lions. It really sucks. I feel like we shored up our secondary and free agency. You know, we said this yesterday, me and Will, when we were talking, you know, adding Amik Robertson, trading for Carlton Davis really helps. Emmanuel Mosley hoping to come back. But we were talking about how the Detroit Lions have had this luxury in the draft the last, you know, couple days with all the free agent signings, home runs. Now I feel like we might have a little need at quarterback or maybe in the secondary somewhere to shore up some insurance, add some depth. So what I'm going to talk about today a little bit more is, here's a question for you guys. Is Brad Holmes tipping his hand? Is he showing us what path he's going to take? Is he kind of leaving little breadcrumbs along this NFL draft trail? Because I haven't been able to track all of the NFL pro days that are going on, but I do know that some of the more bigger schools are starting to kick off their pro days. So yesterday, March 20th, 4 teams had their NFL pro days for college. So GMs, coaches, trainers, all that can go to these colleges and watch these kids work out who don't participate in the NFL combine, or maybe they're doing double duties. I don't know. But yesterday was Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, USC. Some big name schools, big name brands. A lot of kids from all of those schools have some have multiple people going in the NFL draft this year in the first round. So Brad Holmes was in attendance at Alabama yesterday. You think he's kind of tipping his hand and showing you what he's looking at? Because he could have went to Ohio State. He could have went to Texas. He could have went to USC, but he chose Alabama. He chose to go there. Is there a reason? What are you up to, Brad? Who are you watching? Who are you looking at? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, we can send other coaches. So Brad Holmes was at Alabama. That doesn't mean that I'm trying to find out which coaches were at the other schools. Did we send Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn to USC, Texas, Ohio State? Did Dan Campbell go anywhere? I don't know. I've been trying to dig for that information. If anyone knows, leave it in the comments, but I do not have that information. I have been looking. I just have not been able to find anything. So with Brad Holmes personally attending the University of Alabama yesterday for some pro days, who worked out yesterday? Tyrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Dallas Turner, Jermaine Burton, wide receiver, J.C. Latham, offensive line, just some of their bigger name guys. I'm sure they had a couple other kids sprinkled in there, but those are the names that most people are familiar with. And then you put together this Cam Sutton situation that's going on. Brad Holmes going to Alabama. Alabama has 2 corners in the draft. Is he looking at a Tyrion Arnold? Is he looking at a Kool-Aid McKinstry who I think he ran a 4.47 in his 40-yard dash? Very, very impressive from everything that I've seen on Twitter and everything I've heard. 4.47, phenomenal speed. For those of you who don't know, Kool-Aid's also having surgery on Friday. He had a broken bone in his foot. I forget what the procedure is called, but they found it at the combine during his medical evaluation. So that's why he did not participate in the NFL combine. While he was going through all his checks with the doctors, they found a break in his foot. he decided that it would be best if he just leave the NFL combine and just do his pro day, which, that's up to him. I think it's a good decision, but he's going to have that fixed on Friday with a surgical procedure to get it repaired. But he still did his pro day yesterday, ran a 4.47, very impressive. A lot of people were tweeting out. Kool-Aid McKinstry might have just rose his draft stock, might have just became a top 15 pick with how well he worked out. I hope that's not the case because I like to see him in Honolulu Blue if I'm being honest. Tyrion Arnold, he worked out at the NFL Combine. He looked phenomenal. I think Alabama has 2 stud corners. I think they have 2. They have the 2 best college tandem cornerbacks in college football last season. So I think that's why Brad Holmes was there. I'm just following the breadcrumbs, people. I'm just looking at the clues. I'm looking at what's going on in the world in current events. We signed some guys in free agency. Step 1. We lose Cam Sutton. I don't know what's going on. Let's just say, at the very least, Cam Sutton's probably going to be facing a suspension, so he's going to be missing time. So if I'm Brad Holmes, I have to ask myself, am I comfortable with Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson on the outside, or do I get someone in the draft? It's a question that needs to be answered. Brad Holmes is the only one who has that answer. But I just find it kind of ironic that Brad Holmes has a strong ties with the University of Alabama. We have Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams, Brian Branch, all Bama boys. He goes to Alabama and he scouts. I remember very, very well last year he went to Texas versus Alabama when they played each other, and he was there specifically scouting Bijan Robinson, and that's kind of where Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm sure he was on his radar, but he really got a firsthand look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs ended up being a Detroit Lion, phenomenal rookie, in the conversation for Rookie of the Year most of the year. Excellent back. I think he's going to have a huge year too as well. But just follow the breadcrumbs, people. Brad keeps checking out these Bama boys. There's a connection there. He likes something he sees in their program, something with their coaching, something with their development, where he can take them and develop them in the Detroit Lions way, and it's hit every single time. So if you just follow these little clues, guys, just follow it. There's a known history, a known connection with Brad Holmes and the University of Alabama. We draft Bama players every year. Cam Sutton, his situation, what's going on. Brad Holmes attending Alabama Pro Day while they have 2 of the best corners that are going to go in the first round of the NFL draft. I'm just saying, I think he's there looking for a reason. I think he's doing his own personal scouting. I think he wanted a firsthand look up close and personal with both of these guys, Tyrion Arnold. And that's not to say that, we're not looking at a DJ Turner or a Dallas Turner. Maybe he's got a package in place where he's going to trade up. I don't know. I'm not Brad Holmes. Nobody knows what Brad Holmes is going to do. The only pick we know for sure in the NFL draft is that the Bears are taking a quarterback, and it's most likely Caleb Williams. Everything else is all speculation, educated guesses, but we truly don't know. But I'm just following all the stuff that Brad's doing, everything that's going on with the Detroit Lions right now, the current state of the Detroit Lions. How's it look? It looks like Brad's down there scouting corners to me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think it's just a little telling that he went to Alabama's pro day when there's 3 other schools that have some kids that we could be looking at too. And I'm not disappointed. Again, I'm trying to find out which coaches were there. I'll ask you guys this again. If you know who was that USC, Texas, or Ohio State's pro day for the Detroit Lions, who our representative was, leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to do a little digging. Also, we got some other pro days coming up tomorrow, March 22nd, the bigger schools, Florida State, Michigan, Missouri. I'm going to keep tabs on Brad. I'm going to see where he's going. I need like a Brad Holmes Apple tracker or something so I can see where he's at all times. I need to know what he's up to. So I would expect him to be at one of those 3 schools tomorrow, Michigan, Missouri, or Florida State. I think it kind of just shows a little bit. If he's at Missouri, I know we've seen a lot of mock drafts with Ennis Rakestraw and Darius Robinson. So I'll be looking for that. Michigan has 18 kids that were at the combine. I wouldn't be surprised if he was there. That's a lot of talent that he can get his eyes on in one location. Florida State, Braden Fisk, Johnny Wilson, Keenan Coleman. There's a lot of kids out there that he could be watching. So pay attention to where Brad's going. I think he tips his hand a little bit, and it gives us a little something to think about. So leave some stuff in the comments. I've asked you guys some questions. Is Brad Holmes tipping his hand? Do you know who the Detroit Lions representative was at some of these other pro days or pro days coming up? Leave it in the comments. Hit that like button. Guys, if you're new here, stick around, subscribe. We're not going anywhere. Love to have you. Much appreciated. We will be back. I'm going to try to get with Will tonight. We'll be back, and we'll have another episode out for you guys. Stay tuned, stay safe, and we will be back.